Well, that was unexpected. Hey guys, Jay! Welcome back to the channel. Guys, this is absolutely crazy. Apparently, ThunderCats 5.5-inch figures are coming early? Thanks to Super7. This is crazy, guys. I mean, quite literally, over at San Diego Comic-Con, we got the announcement that the ThunderCats He-Man crossover was actually a thing. And now, Super7 is capitalizing on this by making 5.5-inch Barbarian-style ThunderCats figures? This is absolutely crazy, guys. Let's have a deep dive into this and see exactly what was going on at Super7.com, because this one is blowing my mind. Let's have a look. My good friend JP over at ThunderCats Classics. This one completely blew me away. I had no idea that this was even a thing. Today, he announced on his page that ThunderCats has a brand new line of action figures thanks to Super7, and this is really completely blowing my mind. Oh my gosh, guys, check it out. Yes, indeed, 5.5-inch Barbarian-style ThunderCats is hitting the market. And honestly, I'm kind of perplexed by this because I remember this as more of a repressed memory of the thing, but doing a quick search, Funko did actually release a number of ThunderCats-related Savage World figures, which of course were 5.5-inch scale Barbarian-style action figures. And this line actually did relatively well as far as I can remember. We have Lion-O, we have Panthro, and even characters like Tigra, Chitara, and they even had, I think, around 2 waves, or maybe it's just a single wave, of complete mutants as well. Monkian, Jackalman, Slithe, and of course, the evil Mumm-Ra squaring off against the adult versions of the ThunderCats, and it looks as if Super7 is taking a kick at the can, and I want to take a deep dive into this because this is absolutely fascinating. Especially considering the fact that Mattel at San Diego Comic-Con announced their own version of the ThunderCats He-Man Master Universe crossover. And I wanted to really take a deep dive into this and see exactly what's going on with Super7's edition of this. Heading over to Super7.com and doing the search for ThunderCats reveals that the pre-sale for these figures is actually up right now. Not only is a pre-sale, this leads me to believe that the figures are actually in stock and ready to ship. So we might actually be able to get these guys in hand very, very soon. The first figure we're going to take a look at is Jackalman. He's listed at $30 for this particular figure. That's quite the ask for a 5.5-inch figure, but it does fall in line with their other 5.5-inch offerings like Conan the Barbarian with war paint here at $30. There he is, everybody. There is Jackalman, the 5.5-inch Barbarian-style version of the character. And honestly, he looks like Jackalman. Now, we already have an example of a Jackalman 5.5-inch figure from Funko's Savage World, which was released a number of years ago, and he looked pretty good at the time, and I have to say, he was rather well received by Master Universe fans as well as ThunderCats fans. Jackalman also came with an accessory, which was a spear-like halberd axe, which of course was signature in the actual cartoon series itself. The Super7 offering seems to have very much the same pack-out. Jackalman here looks a little bit more of a cartoon aesthetic, if I'm not mistaken, which would very much differentiate him from the Savage World version of Jackalman, which looks more like an LJN-inspired toy. Jackalman comes on this wonderful new backing card, which is completely different from the Savage World version. This one has very much an LJN type of inspired packaging design with ThunderCats at the top, Jackalman in that classic font from LJN, adult collectible 14+, the lightning, which is coming from the Eye of Thundera, highlighting Jackalman on the front of the card, and the blister, which is actually blister formed around Jackalman himself. At least that's what it appears like on this digital render, and that was amazing. Jackalman is coming to Super7 in 5.5-inch style, guys. This is crazy. Let's move on to the next character in the line. The next character, of course, is Mumm-Ra, the Ever-Living, and this guy looks absolutely nuts. Let's take a closer look at this version of Mumm-Ra in 5.5-inch scale. There he is, everybody, and once again, he does look like a cartoon aesthetic version of Mumm-Ra, the Ever-Living. Now, it's going to be interesting to find out if he comes with a soft goods cape or if this is actually just plastic. We can't really tell that from these digital renders, but he does come with a Sword of Plundar, fully extended version, and his headdress looks a little bit lacking in paint. That's interesting. I wasn't expecting that from this line. And we do see here in the Savage World version of Mumm-Ra, the Ever-Living, the headdress that he had was completely painted. The snakes were adorned in blue, they had red highlights at the bottom of the base, and even the crown itself was a wonderful gold sheen. Very few paint apps in the face, but everything else was wonderfully colored and detailed. Now, Mumm-Ra apparently did come with the Sword of Plundar as well, but you can really see the differences here, and it should be noted that the cape is made of plastic, and that will be very interesting to see if Super7 decides to follow suit with this, or if they're going to decide to go with a soft goods cape. Here's another shot of Mumm-Ra with the actual Sword of Plundar in his hand. The Funko Savage World versions were actually kind of well received. It's unfortunate that they didn't end up finishing the line, as I think that we could have completed a complete set of the Thundercats if only we had the Thunder Kittens. The Super7 Mumm-Ra looks amazing, other than the headdress, which I do think is actually missing a couple of paint apps. And I really find that interesting, as Super7 has released a number of different Mumm-Ras over the years, and they've always had the correct amount of paint on the headdress of Mumm-Ra. So it'll be interesting to see if this early render is actually something of a prototype and not exactly indicative of the final results. Mumm-Ra the Ever-Living comes on this backing card, which of course is once again inspired by LJN, and I do love the way it looks. Adult collectible 14+, Thundercats, Mumm-Ra the Ever-Living, and of course he's highlighted by the electricity, the thunder if you will, from the Sword of Omens. And you can even see the Sword of Plundar tucked in the back. And it'll be really interesting to see if these bubbles are actually form-fitting to each of the characters. I think that'll be a really nice touch. The final figure released in this wave is the mighty Lion-O, Lord of the Thundercats. He's listed again at $30, and it's going to be really interesting to take a look, especially considering the fact that there was a version released for the Savage World from Funko, and honestly, he looked pretty good at the time, having a very toy aesthetic version of Lion-O. The colors were bang on, he had that flowing red hair, his wonderful muscle shirt, tunic, the signature belt of Lion-O, his signature boots. He also came with a claw shield, and he did come with the Sword of Omens and the Eye of Thundera embedded. Now, I do have to say, this version of the sword did not look particularly cartoon accurate, nor was it particularly toy accurate, so I'm actually kind of happy to see a newer version of that sword being released. But the paint apps were spot on as far as I can tell, and he does look like Lion-O in the 5.5-inch scale. Each of these figures came on a wonderful backing card, which of course highlighted the Savage World Thundercats, a wonderful illustration on the front, which was probably lifted off of some of the comic books at the time. Lion-O, 5.5-inch action figure, 5.5-inch scale. There's Lion-O in his plastic prison, and it is interesting that Funko went in this particular route. But let's have a look at what Super7 had to offer in their version of Lion-O in the 5.5-inch scale. There he is, everybody, Lion-O, Lord of the Thundercats. And we can see right here that there's an easily identifiable articulation joint right at the shoulder, very much in the style of the vintage Master Universe figures. This version of Lion-O, he has a very stoic look. It's actually almost bored looking, in my opinion. And if I'm not mistaken, he has a very muted skin tone. This is kind of interesting, considering the fact that we have seen the very similar sort of skin tone on the latest release of the DX Lion-O, which is already in Target stores and now hitting places like Entertainment Earth and Big Bad Toy Store. If you're interested in this figure, I will have links in the description below where you can order this one directly. Lion-O seems to be sharing that same color scheme, and I'm wondering how fans are going to react to that overall appearance. Mind you, these are just digital renders, so it will be interesting to see what the final results look like. He does have his signature outfit, the muscle shirt, the signature belt, his Speedo spandex loincloth, the boots, and his claw shield actually is removable from his hand. That is a huge bonus for a lot of collectors. Unfortunately, there seem to be very few paint apps with this claw shield, and that's a bit of a disappointment for me. I thought maybe a few little dashes of paint on the claw shield itself for the knuckles. That would have gone a long way for this particular release. However, something which is really welcome is, of course, the Sword of Omens, which looks amazing. Very much looking like it does in the original versions which are released with the Ultimates figures. So I'm very, very happy to see this. Again, lacking a little bit in paint apps, almost similar to the way it appears in the DX version. So I'm interested to see if there's any real similarities between these two, especially in regards to the overall paint scheme. Lion-O again comes in that LJN-inspired backing card with Thundercats at the top, being bathed in that electricity coming from the Sword of Omens, probably imbuing him with incredible powers. And we can see again that it is a blister bubble which is formed directly onto Lion-O himself. And again, it will be interesting to see if that actually transfers forward to the final release. The reverse of the backing card shows the entire cross-sell. ThunderCats Super7 Lion-O leads the band of Thundercats against Mumm-Ra and his evil army of mutants. The battle for the Sword of Omens is on. Lion-O Mumm-Ra, Jackalman, collect them all. Ages 14 plus, but these are adult collectibles apparently. And of course, all the other information in multiple languages. There's the barcode if you guys are looking for these. I am fascinated by this overall release, particularly because, again, it's sort of already been done. However, with the announcement of the new He-Man and the Master Universe crossover with Thundercats, I wonder if Super7 is capitalizing on this in order to get loyal fans to pick up these versions of the figures for their very own. All these figures are available right now for pre-sale on Super7.com. You can pick them all up in one sweep for $90 as a complete set, and I'll have links in the description below where you can actually pick those up. If these become available on Entertainment Earth, I will have affiliate links on the description below as well once that becomes available. The Thundercats are coming to Super7 in the 5.5-inch Barbarian style, everybody, and this is just absolutely blowing my mind. I want to give another huge shout out to my good friend JP over at ThunderCats Classics. Definitely give him a like and a follow. He is the premier source for Thundercats news all year round. Give him a like and a follow. Tell him that Jay sent you. And of course, I wanted to give a huge shout out to JP and my good friend Carlos of the Bad Brass Reviews for announcing that they have a brand new action figure line coming in Kickstarter form from The Realm, which is going to be a line of wonderful new action figures based on traditional monsters, all the classic creatures from the yesteryear, and they look absolutely stunning. As a matter of fact, a lot of people did mention that this one is eerily similar to some sort of Castlevania type of creature. So guys, definitely keep a lookout for these brand new figures showing up on Kickstarter very, very soon. Follow From the Realm on Instagram. You can find all the information you need there. Of course, Badass Reviews Carlos and JP from ThunderCats Classics are heading this up, and I'm really excited to see what they have in store for us, as these designs look absolutely stunning. Thundercats continues to make waves in 2024, everybody, and I can't wait to find out when we're going to get our own Cat's Lairs being delivered. But in the meantime, 5.5-inch figures are already pre-orderable on Super7.com, and I really am wondering if these are going to fit in the newly announced He-Man and the Master Universe Thundercats crossover. Alright guys, this is absolutely nuts. I mean, seriously. I don't think it was that long ago that Funko actually did a line of 5.5-inch Thundercats, and that was sort of mixed in its overall received value. I think a lot of fans were kind of into it, but kind of not, and it actually didn't go past the first wave, I believe. But since that line of 5.5-inch limited articulation figures didn't exactly go as planned for Funko, it's interesting to see that Super7 is actually taking a kick at the can and doing more or less the same figures. It's kind of weird, especially considering the fact that Mattel has already put their name in the hat for Thundercats and, of course, He-Man as an actual official crossover. I'm not sure how this is actually going to work. I really just am kind of perplexed as to the marketing here. I think that Super7 is actually trying to capitalize on this, and they are in their traditional style uniform. So that kind of leads me to wonder, will the crossover for Thundercats and He-Man have all brand new costumes for each of the Thundercats? Very much in the same style that they're doing with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Turtles of Grayskull. It remains to be seen, guys, but this is something absolutely fascinating, and I'm very, very interested in following this journey. You can pre-order these figures right now on Super7.com. I'll have a link to the description where you guys can pre-order that. Guys, let me know in the comment section below, what are your thoughts about these Super7 Thundercats 5.5-inch Barbarian-style figures? Are you into these figures at all? Because honestly, they are kind of tickling a soft spot for me, and they will actually fit in with your Master Universe Origins figures, and of course, with this brand new line of Thundercats and Masters of the Universe figures. It's going to be really, really interesting. Or is the 5.5-inch style for Thundercats really not in your wheelhouse, and you're kind of willing to pass this by for the moment, especially considering that Funko gave it a shot a number of years ago, and it didn't really go anywhere? Let me know those comments in the comment section below, guys. Toy news just continues to thrive, and of course, we did find out more about the Turtles of Grayskull, as well as the other brand new lines coming out for Master Universe. And I have a video right here, which you guys can take a look at, because there was some fascinating brand new announcements, particularly about Modulok, that I think you guys will enjoy. I'll see you guys there. I hope you're all doing well, staying safe, and as always, everybody, thank you very much for watching. Good journey. Be proud, everybody.